Stay. I know your mind rushes ahead, trying to fathom what could follow this. What will you do? Where will you go? How will you live? You will want to outrun the grief. You will want to keep running towards the horizon, watching for what was lost to come back, to return to you, and never leave again. For now, hear me when I say all you need to do is to still yourself, is to turn toward one another, is to stay. Wait and see what comes to fill the gaping hole in your chest. Wait with your hands open to receive what could never come except to what is empty and hollow. You cannot know it now, cannot even imagine what lies ahead, but I tell you the day is coming when breath will fill your lungs as it never has before. And with your own ears you will hear words coming to you new and startling. You will dream dreams, and you will see the world ablaze with blessing. Wait for it. Still yourself. Stay. Helen Toy tells us, let us all send our warmest wishes to new members, Marcia Lanier, who has been quite ill for several weeks. You can now stay in your seats, and we will sing together 168, One More Step. The first verse only.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step.
Again, we are faced with at least a countrywide situation that we did not expect. Shit happens. Grace happens. Growth happens where you plant your seeds. Again and yet again, we are confronted with an unpleasant reality that some of us were naive enough to never believe was possible. Nothing I say this morning will change this reality. Yet, we are not powerless. We can choose our own personal response. We can feed the seeds of response that will help us to grow in well-being and in truth, the reality of love and compassion. Just so you know, barring some unrelated medical situations, you and I most probably will survive this election. If it does not go the way we would like, that only means there is more opportunity for us to help ourselves and others and society to learn and grow. In some ways, in my naive youth, I was so much wiser. I believed in the integrity and worth of every person. It is much more difficult for me to maintain this belief now. Even though I have a definite cynical side, I am going to preach about love and hope, loving kindness, and all of that kind of stuff. Over the last few years, I have had to deal with living with a kind of hell as my husband of over 50 years died infinitely slowly of dementia, and Trump became president and COVID hit. I could and did feel sorry for myself for quite a long time. This is in part the story of how I managed to survive and how two groups from this congregation aided in my recovery. I am the Reverend Dr. Jane Ramsey. I'm using my full title because it helps to puff me up. I co-facilitate, along with the most wonderful Anne Greenwood, a group called Aging with Grace, a group of self-identified elders who meet for friendship, caring, and to discuss issues in our lives and the world at large. In my capacity with this group, I find a reading to use at the beginning and the end of each gathering. This is one of those readings. From a book, The Seasoned Soul, Reflections on Growing Older by Eliza Blanchard, a UU minister. She begins with a quote from Thomas Bailey Aldrich: "To keep the heart unwrinkled, to be hopeful, kindly, cheerful, reverent, that is to triumph over old age." Aldrich, a prolific, highly regarded author and early editor of the Atlantic Monthly, lived a long and successful life. Given his achievements, we might imagine that he found it easier than most to stay hopeful, kind, cheerful, and reverent. But Aldrich experienced more than his share of disappointment and loss. His father died when he was in his teens. At 16, he gave up his dream of college and traveled to New York to work for his uncle. He is not remembered for writing the book that inspired Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, even though he did. He was blessed with twin boys, but one son predeceased him, dying young of tuberculosis. Even people born to a life of privilege run smack up against sorrow. We're all vulnerable to what can grieve us, weary our spirits, and burden us with pain. And the wear and tear of living may shrink our hearts, if we allow it to. This requires, first of all, our intention, adopting a spiritual practice to bolster our spirits. Second, we need a community, either small or large. Hopefulness, kindness, optimism, and wonderment are the benefits of a heart's daily workout. A daily workout of joy, wonder, compassion, and gratitude keeps the heart muscle from withering. And the wear and tear of living shrinks our hearts. I have never been in any kind of physical battle, thank God. Don't worry, that was an expression of a universal sentiment, not a statement of faith. We are here now, sitting in these pews or at home, sitting with the question of how did we get here and how can we survive? During the time of my husband's illness, I found solace in the writings of Jan Richardson. Here is one of her writings. Where the breath begins. Dry. And dry. And dry in each direction. Dust dry. Desert dry. Bone dry. And here, in your own heart, dry. The center of your chest, a bare valley stretching out every way to turn. Did you think this was where you had come to die? These words hit home as a sense of complete desolation surrounded me with the combination of my husband's illness, COVID, and becoming aware of the alternate reality as viewed and accepted by so many. She goes on, it's true that you may need to do some crumbling. Yes. That some things you have protected may want to be laid bare. Yes. That you will be asked to let go and let go. Yes. Crumbling in the sense that of my personal sense, not intellectual, that my husband would be with me forever. Crumbling as a sense of safety was being demolished as COVID swept the nation and the world. Crumbling as my belief in my own loving and caring nature was stretched to the breaking point. But listen, she goes on to say, that is what a desert is for. If you have come here desolate, if you have come here deflated, then thank your lucky stars the desert is where you have landed. Here, where it is hard to hide. Here, where it is unwise to rely on your own devices here where you will have to look and look again and look close to find that refreshment waits to reveal itself to you. And I thought, what will I see as I look and look again? Refreshments? Are you kidding? I tell you, she says, though it may be hard to see it now, this is where your greatest blessing will find you. I tell you, this is where you will receive your life again. I have looked and I have found help. Human contact through Zoom, through my laptop. Human contact through people of UUCB. Human contact offering love and support and just having a conversation with other adults, reminding me of days when human contact was only with toddlers. She ends with, I tell you, this is where the breath begins. And it began with no blinding flashes of light, no sense that all will be well, but a beginning. A new election and a new vaccine came. At the time I started reading from this book, Circle of Grace, I had no idea who Jan Richard was, and I paid no attention to a smaller typescript in italics in the upper right-hand corner of the page, nor I was aware of the capitalized writing on the bottom. This is not unusual for me, something I have to work on, paying attention and being more observant. Eventually, I became aware of the fact that these blessings were referring to the Christian liturgical calendar, and that each blessing was related to a Christian Bible passage. In this case, he fasted 40 days and 40 nights, Matthew 4, verse 2, and the time of Lent, which, according to Wikipedia, is the solemn Christian religious observance in the liturgical year commemorating the 40 days Jesus spent fasting in the desert and enduring temptation by Satan. I wonder who that could be. I was unaware of all the history which allowed me to openly receive the wisdom within the blessing. All the blessings in this book are beautiful, helpful, and very few, if any, have specific references to Jesus or God, unless, of course, you actually pay attention and look in the upper corner and the bottom of the page. And Jan Richardson is an ordained Methodist minister. Another major source of help came to me from joining the Buddhist Sangha within UUCB. Led by Lynette Delgado, learning about Buddhist teachings through various Buddhist books and applying what I learned helped me to begin to attain some measure of peace, most especially regarding the outer, less personal issues, such as listening to what he who must not be named was saying. These readings helped to bring some peace personally as I watched my husband die in an excruciatingly slow manner, and peace living in an era of COVID and he who must not be named. I survived, but barely. I existed technically. It is through Buddhist teachings that I was able to be reminded and acknowledge the truth of compassion, kindness, and joy. Suffering, pain, and sorrow exist, and so do the positive aspects of living and being human, such as love, compassion, and kindness. Life is not now and never will be all doom and gloom. It was and still is a matter of taking one more step. Remember, feelings of anxiety and depression are legitimate responses to situations of pain that we cannot control. The fact is, however, that over a long period of time, such feelings can become detrimental to our health. These emotions do nothing to alleviate whatever the cause. In fact, anxiety and depression tend to sap our strength, leaving us with minimal ability to cope. In fact, anxiety and depression tend to sap our strength. I said that. Yet when we can acknowledge the pain, sorrow, and even hopelessness, we, at least I, was able to take one more step and find somebody, in my case, more than one somebody, to lean on. Human contact through this church helped me to receive my life again. From Howard Zinn, American American historian, a playwright, philosopher, socialist, intellectual, World War II veteran, and other good things. He says, "To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction." And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Shit happens, grace happens. Suffering is real. There is a path. There is joy and always will be. Find it, live it, and do what you can to heal yourself and the world, to keep the heart unwrinkled, to be hopeful, kindly, cheerful, reverent. That is to triumph. For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for our lives for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. And we have transition.